The National Freedom Party has threatened to exit the GPU in KZN. Party President Ivan Barnes says the IFP, ANC, DA and NFP coalition arrangement is no longer working as the NFP had hoped. Now, for more on this, let's bring in political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou, and he joins us now via our video link to discuss what this means for the political landscape in KZN. Dr. Ndou, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. Now, let's start off here. I mean, it seems as if there are cracks in the GPU in KZN. And of course, we all know that the NFP, with its one seat, plays kingmaker. It has indicated that it may plan on leaving this GPU if some of the issues are not resolved. We always knew that this would happen at some point in time.
Good evening, Bali. Good evening to the viewers at home. Indeed, this is what we have expected, because this is what the NFP has been saying for almost a week, that they no longer have confidence in the leadership of the Premier, and they would love to explain themselves to the public. And at the end of the day, they actually did that today. It appears as if it stemmed from some reports that are there, which talks to issues that relates to corrupt activities, which relates to issues of governance, but also it appears as if the relationship is not very smooth in the KwaZulu executive or in the legislature, because the NFP feel sidelined by some coalition partners. And I think that it is something that we need to expect, because when partners or some within the team feel that they're being undermined or they're being sidelined, we should expect this kind of statements that are coming from them.
And Professor, I mean, when you look at what is taking place in KZN and you look at the power that the NFP yields, should they decide to leave this GPU, what does this mean for the likes of the MK party?
Well, I think it will depend on as to whether the MK party would be able to lure the NFP onto their side and also be able to get other parties to join them. Because if you look at the numbers, because in KwaZulu-Natal, it only has to be the game of numbers. The ANC, the IFP, the DA, and including the NFP have a much bigger number compared to the MKP and the EFF. So therefore, it will require the MKP to be able to convince other members to be able to join them. But what we need to be very much sure of is that in this kind of arrangements, anything can happen, because on a regular basis, there are discussions that are going on. There are people who could be happy or unhappy in these arrangements. And where the numbers are very slight, like in the case of KwaZulu-Natal, anything can possibly happen.
And when it comes to issues around governance, right, should we see the NFP walk away, that could also mean that we may see a collapse of government within KZN. What does this mean for the people of KwaZulu-Natal should the NFP walk away?
We do not know the other reasons that the NFP could be having. But what we do know is that they have spoken about some wrong things that appears to be happening in government. They've pointed fingers on some relatives of officials that are having been given businesses, and therefore that has led them into a situation where they say they no longer have confidence in the leadership of Premier Ndou. What it will therefore mean is that there are a lot of discussions that could be taking place now between and amongst many political parties, and this will require national leadership to also get involved, because the collapse of the governance in KwaZulu-Natal will have serious implications on the programs of government, that have been established. It will have serious governance issues on the basis of the fact that budgets have been passed and everything else has to be rearranged afresh. But this is something that we need to get used to, because in a situation where you don't have an outright winner and you have parties working together, they can continue in a coalition or they can easily abandon a coalition, and that has serious negative implications on the governance in that area.
And would you say, Dr. Ndou, that it's still possible for those parties within the GPU to find each other somewhat, particularly when you're looking at the demands from the NFP?
It is still possible for them to be able to find one another, even though I earlier said that we might not be privy to some of the issues that might have led to the NFP to come to this decision. But I think they can still be able to find one another and ensure that there is stability in that area. But when you listen to the tone of the president of the NFP, he appears to be quite sure that he might not be able to go back. But in politics, anything is possible. They can negotiate, they can still find one another and still create stability in the province of KwaZulu-Natal.
All right, Dr. Ndou, thank you so much for your time. That's Dr. Levy Ndou, political analyst, giving us some of his insights to what is taking place in KwaZulu-Natal. And that follows that media briefing which we saw earlier on in Durban, held by the NFP.